Hi folks, well, it is a gloomy night. It's cold, rainy outside, so I'm inside working on my laptop, and I've decided, I'm going to do a video on one of the places that I've gone to several times here in Adirondacks, and it's probably the #1 draw in Adirondacks, which is Lake George. I've been to Lake George several times over the years, and so in this video I am going to do the top 5 campgrounds to stay at while you're in Lake George. So stick around. Well, if you're going to be camping in the Lake George area, there's a few things that you really need to consider. During the summer months, really from mid-May until probably mid-September, Lake George is a very hopping place. There's lots to do in such a small area. If you get right downtown, there's right on the corner of the main intersection, there's a tourist information area, and there's lots of shops all along the main street. There's restaurants, and there's ice cream, and there's places that sell little knickknacks and t-shirts and Adirondack stuff, and there's a wide variety. I do believe that there's even a kind of like a Ripley's Believe It or Not downtown, a Frankenstein haunted house, and all sorts of things for the kids to do, plus an arcade. But if one thing to consider, such a small area with a lot of people, is that there's going to be lots of traffic. And it's going to get frustrating, but you're on vacation, so don't worry about it. Just go with the flow. Things move rather slow a lot of the times downtown. But if you can find a place to park, and there's a lot of places to park, but most of it is pay to park, and they do ticket a lot down in downtown. But if you can find a place to park, it's an easy walk along the main drag. Now, Lake George is the home to Fort William Henry. Not a bad place to go. Take the kids to spend an afternoon at Fort William Henry. The Lake George Steamboat Company is quite the surprise to me. We went on the dinner cruise there, and it was very nice. And if you can have the time to do it and have the budget to do it, I recommend fully to go on the dinner cruise on the Lake George Steamboat Company. It's totally worth it. If you go past the Steamboat Company, there is the world famous $1 Million Beach. Now there is a parking area, so be prepared to pay. It's a very nice beach. The facilities are very nice. You can understand why it's got its name, the $1 Million Beach, because that's exactly what it is. And getting around Lake George, the Lake George trolley car makes multiple stops all around Lake George. They stop at a lot of the campgrounds that I'm going to mention here. The trolley goes all the way into Queensbury and all the way up to Warrensburg. So a lot of the campgrounds I've stayed at, the trolley stops at them. So the campgrounds that I'm going to mention, if you can park your vehicle right there at the campground and head downtown right on the trolley. Well, folks, if you Google campgrounds for Lake George area, you'll see that there are a lot of them. There's plenty of campgrounds from Lake Lutheran, down in Queensbury, up into Bolton Landon, Warrensburg, and then Lake George. The 5 campgrounds that I am going to mention here are the campgrounds that I have personally stayed at. I have seen their facilities, and these are the 5 campgrounds that I would recommend if you're going to Lake George. Now, campground number 5 on the list is the Battleground State Park. Now, this is right on Route 9, just outside of Lake George Village. It is within walking distance to Lake George, and if you have the ability to boondock or be off-grid with your camper or tent, and this is the place you can stay. They have showers, they have bathroom facilities, they have water that you can fill up jugs with. It's a nice park. It's very busy in the summertime, so you're going to have to get your reservations in early. It's just not very far at all outside of Lake George. And like I said, if you can have the ability to be off grid or boondock, this is the place to go. It is not that expensive. I think it's about $20 a night. Number 4 on my list is the Riverview Campground in Warrensburg. Now, the sign says Lake George Riverview, but it is actually next to the McDonald's in Warrensburg. And it is a very nice campground. It's right on the Scroom River. And my only beef with it is that some of the sites are really, really close together along the river, but there are lots of sites in this campground. Now, when we were there was new ownership that took over. And speaking to the owner, he had several permits in with the Adirondack Park Agency for approval for upgrades at the park, and I haven't not stayed there since they've done these upgrades, so this map may not be reflective of what it really is now, but it is a nice park to stay there. Park number 3 on my list is the Adirondack Camping Village. This is also on Route 9. This is between Warrensburg and the Lake George Village. You can see if you go there, there's kind of a somewhat of a steep entrance. You can see in the road where the rear campers have dragged on the pavement. But don't let that scare you. The facilities in this campground are very nice. Some of the roads inside are very steep, but it's manageable to get around in there even with the big rigs. The sites are decent size and they're spaced, I think, pretty good apart, so there is decent privacy. Number 2 on my list is a hidden gem within Lake George. I didn't even see this campground for a while going to Lake George, but it's called the Whippoorwill Motel and Campground. And it's not a big park at all. There's only maybe 50 sites in this place, and it fills up quickly. So you want to get your reservation in. And since it's a small park, big rigs may have a hard time maneuvering around. The new owner that is there did tell me a couple stories of people cutting corners too short and damaging their rigs. Big fifth wheels that have came in. It's located on Route 9 between Lake George and the outlet malls. It's got a pool. It's got a small arcade, showers, bathroom facilities. The site that I had there had water, sewer, electric, and cable TV. And it's a nice hidden gem, and it's not all that expensive. I think it was $42 a night there. Number 1 on my list, and this here is an expensive park. It was $93 a night, but boy, oh boy, once I got there and saw what they had for facilities, what they had to offer, I think it was worth it. And it's number 1 on my list, and it's the Lake George RV Park. It is a huge park, and it's kind of like 2 parks in one. There's an upper park and a lower park. And this park has a lot to do. There's tennis courts, there's pools, upper and lower pools. There's an indoor pool. They have movie theater. They have an arcade. There's just a lot to do with the kids. I know when we were there, we had my daughter and her friend were there, and they were gone most of the day just doing things. Every night they have a show free for the campers there. It's a 300-seat auditorium, and the shows were really, really good. They weren't these cheesy type of shows. They were really, really good. And, some of the sites are close together. The facilities were very nice. They have a store. They have a laundromat. There's down in the lower part where the auditorium is, they have a restaurant bar. So it was, like I said, it was $93 a night, but boy, I think it was worth every penny because the kids were just gone every day. And if you have kids, this is the park to stay at. Now, this park here is located over near Queensbury. It's just before you get to the outlet malls. There's a right-hand turn before you get down into where the outlet malls are, and it's not far down that road. And last but not least, if you're in Lake George, the outlet malls. Again, traffic is going to be huge during the summertime there because there is a lot of malls in there, a lot of stores, and frustrations. I see it every time I go down there, people getting frustrated because of the traffic, but what you want to do is you want to get in there and you want to park and just walk around. You don't want to drive from place to place. But there's plenty of outlet malls there, and you know, you can get your Christmas shopping done in July when you're there. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel to follow the adventure. Thanks for joining me.